What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Sports Dép Podcast with Alfieri and Tsalikis. We'll be back in the studio tomorrow, but for today, we are back doing this via satellite, as the kids are saying. Tsalikis, what's going on, man?
What's going on, Joy?
Just living a dream here in MTL. You?
Same dream. A little bit. Well, yeah, it's a dream. Tell me yesterday was a dream. Tell me Sunday was a dream.
No, it wasn't a dream. The
no.
Bears are done, Tsalikis. You have to
Damn
wait
it.
till
Damn it. I
you
thought
gotta
I
wait
was gonna
till
wake up.
August.
Yeah. No, man. Living the life. Just a little bit tired of the excess of snow up here, but we will survive.
Yes, we will survive. It's cold, it's snowy, but this is what winter is. This is what our ancestors signed up for when they landed in. Well, they didn't land. Mine didn't land. Mine came by boat. I don't know about
Still
yours.
landing.
Yeah, sort of. When they got to, I guess my grandparents got to the port in Halifax, and they kept. I guess they must have hopped on a train or something to Montreal, and some of them branched away. Some of them went to Hamilton. Some of them went other places. But my family decided to stay here. And look, could have been worse. Could have ended up in Hamilton. No offense
Yeah.
to the lovely people in Hamilton.
No. Why would they take that
If
as
you're on
offensive?
the if you're on the mountain, not so bad. If you're not on the mountain, it's a bit rock and roll. But I used to tell my grandparents all the time, like, you could have kept going south. You could have gone to Florida. Then I would have had to worry about the gators or whatever. But no, we're in Montreal and we're not complaining about it. We have it okay here, outside of the potholes, the weather, the taxes,
The politics.
politics, the price of houses. But that's pretty much everywhere.
Hockey team's
Anyway,
doing well, and that's all that really matters.
that's all that matters. All right. On a more positive note, Simon. Well, positive for Kirby Dach anyway, as he skated on with the first line. Texier out with just a therapy day, and we talked about it yesterday. We said Kirby Dach had an opportunity to play for tonight's game against the Minnesota Wild, and boom, Martin St. Louis said after practice that there was a very good chance, or he said there was a good chance that Kirby Dach would play. But how surprised are you that they threw him up there right on the top line, at least at 5-on-5, that they threw him with Suzuki and Caulfield?
Yeah, look, I think it's good, right? Like, what are you going to do? You're going to baby him into a bottom six role here, Joey, with Brendan Gallagher or Jake Evans or Phil Danault. Go out there, play with the team's most two talented forwards, and see what you can bring. And look, you can start the game there. You can play the first period, man. You check in on the guy, like, between periods. How's the cardio? How's everything going? The lungs are pumping. We're good. You need to sit him a shift. You need to move him around the lineup. But this is a big piece coming back. Like, he does have the dynamics and he does have the skill set, if he can stay healthy, that he may be a longer-term solution than Texier, than Bolduc, than anybody else that they put up on that line. So it'll be big to get him back in the lineup. I'm not going to call him a vet or anything, but, he's been around the league long enough that he doesn't.
7 years, Simon. 7 years.
Well, game-wise, it's not 500 and something games there, but
Yeah.
Get him out there with the best unit, see what it can do, and I think if it clicks, that's a giant, answer filled for that front office. Do they go out and try to get better at the deadline? I don't know. Like, it's so congested. Like, you're going to have to move some pieces out, and how willing are they to move those pieces out? But to get back to Kirby Dach, yes, him and Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield should work. It's looked good at moments. He's playing with, a guy at center who's very responsible, and Cole Caulfield. We love to talk about the goal scoring and everything like that. Cole Caulfield has become good in his own end. He's never going to be. I don't even want to compare him to, like, the best shutdown for you. He's not going to be Arturi Lehkonen, but he's not lost.
That's the best. That's the best you.
I'm thinking of a good winger who's really good in his own end, and Arturi Lehkonen is that.
Yep.
But Cole Caulfield's not lost. He'll lose a puck battle here and there. That's going to happen. With that size, but his stick is active. The feet are always moving. So I think it's a good line for Kirby Dach to go on, because, Joey, they need to get something out of that line. It's nice that Texier, that he got his points and he got everything going. But Nick Suzuki, 5-on-5, Cole Caulfield, the goaltending in Ottawa allowed Cole to pick up 2 goals on Saturday.
Yeah.
They haven't been terrible, but they're not producing out what they were when they were flying at the beginning of the year. Like, a lot of Nick Suzuki's points are coming on the power play. Nothing wrong with that. But you know how it's going to get as the season goes along here. You know how it's going to get in the postseason. Their 5-on-5 play must improve. And at least I'm hoping, and I'm sure they're hoping that Kirby Dach is that answer.
Yeah, just looking at Nick Suzuki, it's to your point. It's one goal in the last 9 games, Simon, and that goal came on the power play. If you look, he had 2 points. He had 2 assists against Ottawa, both on the power play. He had a goal and an assist against Buffalo, both came on the power play. He had 2 points against Vancouver a few nights ago. One of the 2 points came on the power play. So there is a lot of power play production. And look, I mean, if we're at the point where we're nitpicking the points that the number one center of the Canadiens gets, that's a good sign. But you're right. It feels like those two haven't been as productive at 5-on-5. They got Slavkovsky up there for a little bit in that game on Saturday night, but I think I'm very happy leaving Slavkovsky exactly where he is as of right now, because he's arguably been the best forward on the Montreal Canadiens for a really good stretch here. But to me, it's going to be interesting just to see if Kirby Dach is able to just string together enough games to make an impact with the Canadiens. I think that's like first and foremost. Like, is he gonna be able to stay in the lineup between now and the end of the season? Because if there's another one of these knee injuries or anything to that leg, I mean, it's crushing. And if it's crushing for us, you can just imagine what it's like for him. He's a pro hockey player that puts in time and time and time in the summer and during the season to get himself ready, and he just can't play. It seems like forever ago, but in reality, it's not that long ago, Simon. It's like 2-3 years ago now, where there was a time in the second half of that season where Kirby Dach was, I don't want to say dominant, but he was really, really, really good. And so we know the 200-foot game isn't necessarily there. Now they get to throw him out there on the wing, which is fascinating to me, just to see, you're going to put him with good players. You're going to put him on the wing. It's less responsibility defensively. You're playing with, the guys. It's just, I'm curious to see. And the other thing that's, going to be interesting to me, I know he's not necessarily the most physical guy out there, but he is a big body, and he did show that, physically he could play at a high level. And this is something we've seen. You play Buffalo, they sabras. You play against Ottawa, same thing. You didn't look great. The Detroit, same deal. All of a sudden, if you're adding a 6'2", 6'3" body and a guy who can chip in offensively, but a guy who can play that physical style and make a difference on that line as a bigger body, I mean, that's what I'm going to be looking at, is those things. Can you use your body? Are you going to be able to produce? Are you going to be able to help those guys at 5-on-5 and help take them to another level? And are you going to be able to stay healthy?
Stay healthy is the biggest thing, Joey, for him, absolutely. And I think that what we've gotten from the Phil Danault acquisition, I think they're quite content with what they get from Jake Evans. If they need to
play well,
Joe Veleno at center on a fourth line, I think they're fine with that. And Kapanen, Demidov, and Slav are going. I think what we're going to learn immediately, that the Kirby Dach experiment at center, I think that ship has sailed. There's no need, and maybe that'll make life easier for Kirby Dach, but there's just no reason to squeeze him at that center ice position. You've got your centers. One is legit top line center. The other guys, Kapanen is still trying to find his way through the National Hockey League, having himself an outstanding season. And you know what you get with Phil Danault and Jake Evans? You like a little bit more offense, but I don't think they'll put in Kirby Dach in that third and fourth line center role to create a little bit more offense at the expense of him not being as good as Phil Danault and Jake Evans in his own end of the rink. So look, maybe for Kirby Dach, Joey, we're not in his head. But maybe this offseason, and okay, I got to play center. I gotta be the second. Everybody's talking about me being the second line center behind Nick Suzuki. I got to find my niche. I got to find, I got to get my game going offensively. I got to get better. Hey man, just go play wing. A lot easier to go play wing. And you're right about, the size. He's not an overly dominant player, but when you're trying to get a puck off a guy who's, over 6 feet and over 200 pounds, it's a lot more difficult. So it's nice, I think, for him to know that center ice experiment is done. And listen, maybe he'll find himself on that third line with Phil Danault. And
I don't know if it's done. I mean, if somebody gets banged up, if someone gets banged up, he's going to have to go back and play center.
If you go over to the corner of the room where it says, break glass in case of emergency, yes. But I don't see
removed.
Right?
We're one injury removed from that happening.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Joe? I bet if knock on wood, If Evans were to tweak a groin for a week, I think Veleno gets those minutes. I don't think you see Kirby Dach at that center ice.
Fair.
Maybe in an offseason, Joe, you make some other moves and he becomes your third line center. Maybe 2 years from now, but I just don't.
But they're different. They're different
It's
now,
okay
right?
to say. I think it's okay to say it. I don't think he's an NHL center iceman.
Yeah, but they're different also the way they're constructed, right? Like when Kirby Dach came out, Oliver Kapanen, we didn't know necessarily. Like we didn't think that he'd be playing this role, and then they didn't have Phil Deneau. So now you add Kapanen as your fixture at 2C, and you have Phil Deneau in that one of those two bottom six center roles with Jake Evans, and all of a sudden it's like you don't need him to be a center right now. I do think there's a long-term injury to one of those guys, especially one of the top three guys. I think you're going to probably go with Dach if he's playing well, but even then, maybe you don't want to mix up the chemistry. So it's a fair point. But for Kirby Dach, I mean, it was a while ago. I mean, you're looking at a guy in 23-20 floor. He played those 2 games, right? He got hurt on a Saturday night against Chicago. Last year played 57 games, but then got hurt at the end of the year. This year, same deal. He's been limited to 15 games. And so I'm truthfully something I'm rooting for the guy. You know why? Because he was one of those players that everyone thought was going to be a massive part of the core, and then you turn around and a couple of injuries later, everyone's written him off and like, throw in Dach in the trade on. It's time to move on. The guy's 24 years old. He turns 25. He turns 25 tomorrow. January 21st, he turns 25. But you're talking about a kid who has a pedigree. He's 6'3". He's 6'4", 220 pounds, a third overall pick. A guy who has chipped in like 38 points in 58 games is nothing to scoff at. In his first year with the Canadiens. So, look, I know the trade hasn't necessarily worked out for the best. It's one of the few moves that Gorton and Hughes made that has been so-so, but it took an injury to do so. And I feel like a lot of those moves that they've whiffed on are moves that, Ryan Bacher's been hurt. It was a controversial pick at the time, but he's been hurt. So that one is one you could disagree with. The Kirby Dach, the Romanov, that swap, the 3-way trade. Kirby Dach's been injured. At one point, this trade looked like it was going to be a slam dunk for the Canadiens. Though, I mean, I can't believe the guy's going to get 2 mentions on the show. But Arturi Lehkonen, they turned into a Carrier, and I think they used the pick that they got, that second-round pick. I think they used it to move up for Michael Hage, so it's not really a Hage and Carrier thing. Maybe you could have got more for Lehkonen at that point, but I feel like they've turned it around, that trade, and they've gotten decent value there. But you look at the moves that they've made, and this was a big one. This was one of the first big moves that they made. I mean, the moves that they've made, the ones that haven't necessarily panned out yet are the ones where the guys have gotten injured. And so, yeah, I'm rooting for Kirby Dach, not just because the Canadiens, would benefit from having him play well, but the guy's been through a lot. Guys played how many games did we say? So I'm 59.
50-something, you said?
So he's at 59 games in the 2 previous years, and he's played 15 this year. You know what I mean? You're talking about a guy who's played under 82 games the last 2.5 seasons combined. So, I mean, I don't know how you could not root for a guy like that.
I think this is big. Like, it's big because I think if you can get anything out of him, you really start to shape your top 6. And then if you do want to go shopping, if Kirby Dach comes back and plays relatively well, if you want to go shopping, you don't feel the need to overpay. There's no need to overpay. Maybe you saw Bolduc didn't really work out. Texier's had his moment. I don't think it's a long-term solution. Kirby Dach doesn't work out as well. Well, the entire league is smart enough to know that you're looking for a winger to play next to Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield. Whoever you're asking for, the price becomes a little bit greater. So. Yeah, I think, Patrick Laine will eventually be back. I don't think that'll impact the club as much as if you get something out of Kirby Dach. Getting something out of Kirby Dach, that might be your trade line acquisition.
Kirby Dach, yeah. Healthy Kirby Dach.
Talking around, you bring your guy back. That might be your trade acquisition. So there's a lot in play here.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. Again, Minnesota is coming in here. They're banged up, but it's a big week. We talked about this yesterday. It's a big week for the Canadiens. There's a lot of valuable points up for grabs. You get Buffalo again. You get Boston on the weekend, and a tough matchup against the Minnesota Wild on Tuesday night. But those Eastern Conference matchups, I mean, they're critical. They're huge matchups, and you need to come up with points. And getting this boost and getting Kirby Dach, I think that it can only help. And things have gone really well, especially for that second line. But if you can get 5-on-5 production from Suzuki, Caulfield, and Dach, I mean, you're taking this team, to another level. I know there's been issues with goaltending and there's been issues with, defending and keeping the puck out of your own net. But if you have those two lines going at the same time, I mean, my goodness, Simon, like you're going to make a charge up the standings. It's kind of hard to imagine you're not.
No, absolutely. And then, then you gotta, maybe that's where you start tweaking your bottom six. If you want to get a little bit, whatever, you want to get some more goal production, I don't know what
Texie moves down, and Texie's been playing well, but so Texie moves down, he all of a sudden gets an opportunity to play with.
I think Anderson's having a very good season when it comes to the limited role that he gets. The goal production is fine. I think the one guy that they need to start figuring out what they're going to get from, and when Laine and maybe Newhook and Dach should be back, is Bolduc. Where does he fit on this team right now? I think he fits on this team going forward, but you've got about 30 games left, whatever that number is, until you hit the postseason. What is his role? Going forward with this team?
That's not an easy one. Yeah, it's not an easy one to figure out, that one.
No, he's got the really nice makings of being on a third line. Like if you had him, Newhook, a healthy Newhook, the thing I look at is I worry about the Bolduc and whoever plays on that third line, because Phil Deneau's had some really nice moments here, man. I think he's won 3 faceoffs that have led to 6 points. That's very impressive.
I think overall play has been okay. I think it's just been okay.
His 5-on-5 play is not to be desired. But the bigger problem is if you do want to get Bolduc going, you move Kirby Dach down to that line. Like Newhook comes back, Patrick Laine.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a lot of people, but if you don't have a center that's driving offense, then it's hard for those guys to look good. So a guy that I'll keep an eye on the next couple of games here is Bolduc. Kirby Dach is the easy one, but Bolduc, to see where do you fit in with this club? Because like you said, when everybody comes back, we spoke about on the last podcast, can you sit Gallagher? Is he going to sit? Do you take him out for a game? Yeah, but that's just one game. Joe Veleno, easy target, right? He's on a 1-year deal. Blais, I'm sure the conversation's been had already. You might be
they waived him once this year.
Yeah, you might be a Rocket, you might be a Hab, depending on the day. But a young guy like Bolduc that you made a trade for, and you brought him into the lineup, where does he go? Does he go to Laval? We'll see. So Bolduc is a guy that I'll keep an eye on the next couple of games here to see if you can get him going.
Tsalikis, behave yourself. I'll see you in the studio tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay, good. You didn't look like you were sure there.
I'm very sure that I'll be in the studio tomorrow.
Good. All right. This has been another episode of the Sports Dép Podcast. You can find us on YouTube. Please subscribe. Leave a comment. We had a lot of people chime in on your Brendan Gallagher take. I think we both said that Brendan Gallagher. No, nobody's mad. I think most people agree with you on this one. Which is new. Nobody was angry. No. Okay. They get angry for other stuff, but not that one. I think they feel like you hit the nail on the head. You can find us also if you want to listen to the podcast only. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Spotify as well. Be sure to subscribe. Leave a comment. 5 stars if you want. Look, here's the deal. Leave us a negative comment, but put 5 stars.
That's it. That's a fair deal.
Make fun of either one of us, but just put 5 stars, even if it doesn't really make sense.
That's it.
Just go ahead and do that. But we're back in the studio tomorrow. We'll have an exciting new collaboration to speak of. So we've got some big Sports Dép breaking news that we're going to announce tomorrow.
Yes,
Tsalikis, you already know what it is, so it's no surprise to you. But we have a big collab that we're going to be announcing.
I wanted to give the impression that it was that big that I was surprised. Like I know it, and I'm still surprised.
Yeah. No. You were part of the conversations. You were part of the negotiations. So we're excited to announce that tomorrow when we get to studio, and we'll have more Habs, more NFL talk, and we have all that coming up the rest of this week on Sports Dép Podcast here with Joey Alfieri and Simon Tsalikis.